Warriors, what's good? Thought it was gonna be a little longer before I had something to say to you guys, but I guess not. So, we back at the mind science, of course. Always keeping it on the mind, right? So, I was just cutting down some branches and stuff in my mother's backyard because I know if I didn't do it, she'll be out here trying to do it herself, and she is in rehab. She don't need to be doing nothing, but she an Aries like me, so she ain't gonna wait on nobody to get stuff done. So cut down the branches, but then it was like this these sticky weeds or whatever, I don't know what they call, but I went to go pull it up out the ground, and it was like tough. Like I couldn't pull it up out the ground, but it was also like had like the thorns on it. So I was like, dang, this joint is tough. And right then, inner voice started talking to me. It was like, look, I need you to get down in this dirt. And immediately I knew what was about to happen, because I hear a lot of people talk about cutting cords, right? Things that bind them in a way. And this was excellent because I'm always talking about mind science or the neuroscience, and neurological pathways and neuroreceptors and how those septic connections connect and all that kind of jazz. So I'm not going to nerd out too much, but this is going to be another one of those kind of conversations, but I'm definitely going to make it shorter than the one I did previously. So I'm down there. I got some gloves, and then I started digging, just pulling it up. And I was like, man, so eventually what happened was I got that little one up, but it led to another big one. I mean, something a little bigger that was more intertwined. And Spirit was just like, look, this is why I need you to get down here, because what you were pulling on was the end result of all the things that already happened. That's why I was so stubborn and you couldn't get it up the way you thought you would be able to get it up. Now you're seeing that one thorn weed is irrelevant to how much is up under this ground. And when we say ground, we're thinking about the mind, right? Okay. So I started digging, man. And like the more I pulled up, I didn't use any tools. I just used my hands and the gloves, because that's what Spirit was telling me, just get down here and start digging. So the more I started digging, the more intertwined things were, the bigger the branches got. So when it started to get intertwined, I was like, whoa, wow. A lot of times there are things that are attached to you that aren't you, but they're so intertwined with you, you can't see the difference between what's your thoughts and what is trying to connect itself to your mind. So pretty much digged out that whole section, but this is what came out of it. All of that. And when I started pulling up this kind of crap right here, up from up under the ground, that's when the messages really started to come in heavy. Spirit was like, that's generational. And it really hit me, just kind of like to look over my life and going back to sharing another message with anybody who's been through anything, of course. Because always, we're a tribe, you know what I'm saying? But message back to the men again about dealing with traumas or just dealing with certain things. And for me, interestingly enough, my parents had me when they were teenagers, like many in the 80s, of course, right? And over the last 2 years, recently, I've been able to meet more of my family that I never met by way of my dope ass cousins. I mean, like, so more or less on my father's side, my dope cousin T, we found each other on the book, and she introduced me to my elders. Never seen them before. Or if I did, I seen them when I was like really, 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 really little. And that did a lot for me. I needed it. And then was doing this pull-up challenge and ran across one of my cousins on my grandfather's side. And it's so funny to me because on both sides, I got common interests and I can see certain traits that are family genes. You know what I mean? So it helped me learn more about myself. Now, the reason why I'm going into all of this is because when you are digging up those things from within yourself, from the depth of your subconscious, is tough. Very tough. And what I've learned from this little experiment, most people aren't willing to go that deep. They're not willing to go that deep. And then on top of that, they may mistakenly think that they don't have to continue to go deep within themselves because they feel like certain characteristics, certain mannerisms, certain things that they do are just who they are, which isn't true, or which allows for someone to limit their perspective and who they are. And kind of just working through all this stuff, man, it was just kind of like I got a deeper understanding of what Spirit told me years ago. It was like, look, you can't go anywhere without yourself. And I was like, what do you mean? I can't go anywhere without myself. Before, like, how far do you think you can go before you realize you can't go anywhere without yourself? And I was like, what? What do you mean? I know myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm a grown man. No, I was just programmed into what I thought I was because of all of the, you know? So with that being said, man, another thing that came to me was like the things that we don't deal with for those of us that are parents. And right now I'm talking to the men again because I'm a man. It's true. Sins of the father fall on the son. And you can see that even in certain texts, especially if you're religious, you can see it through family lines. You can read how one person did one thing and it affected everybody else. But even in the science, like, we know consciously that all things are connected, nothing's separated. Like, we're all connected in some capacity. And I just kind of just really got deep for me at that point where it was just like I really started thinking about the work I've been doing within myself, uprooting certain things. Some things you go through, they really don't really have anything to do with you, but what was passed on to you. And we always want to deal with things in the physical, but we know that there's a force that you can't see that operates from within you and around you, and it's affecting you. You can't see ultraviolet lights. You can't smell wind, but you know it's there because you can feel it. You feel what I'm saying? So we got to start limiting our perspective when it comes to spirituality because we were conditioning to certain stories that we were supposed to be able to identify with. But if it doesn't work for you and you can't take that and apply it to your life, no matter what it is, it's going to be irrelevant. That's why I'm always preaching self-mastery. And all of these things that are available to you, if you can implement them into your daily life in a way that you can get value out of, okay, cool, bet, great. So back to what I was saying, sins of the father fall on the son. And those fathers that aren't willing to do the work or weren't willing to do the work in your life, if that was the case. Now, if you got a great father, this ain't for you, but maybe your father had to do some work so that you wouldn't have to go through certain things, or your mother, you know what I'm saying? And I always thought about this, especially when I had my daughter. I knew there were certain things in my life that I did not want her to ever go through. Ever. Prayed about it. Still pray about it. Because I know how rough it was for me. And I'm not trying to shame anybody, but I'm damn sure about to speak my fucking truth. So my parents had me young. Both my parents ended up marrying someone else. So I have 2 step parents, you know, my mom and my stepfather, and then my dad and my stepmother. Now, being a kid, I can't say that it was all horrible, but a lot of shit was really fucked up for me in a lot of different ways. And being the oldest and being self-sufficient, because like I told you before, I was a grandma's boy, nobody really paid attention to what was really going on with me. And on one side of it, like as a kid, I struggled with my stepfather because of the stuff that he was going through, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody in the 80s that lived in the projects, you know, they was dealing with stuff. He was dealing with some chemical dependency stuff or whatever. And it was rough. To the point where we almost killed each other, like literally a couple times. Thank God for my mother. I think she saved both our lives more than once. Now, the funny thing about that is, me and him, we closer than, I can't even explain the level of respect and trust and truth that came out of me and his relationship later in life. Because he did his growing, he's dinking now. And this is kind of put out there, like my stepfather was no joke. He don't like being called a gangster, so I'm not going to do that. But I just put it to you like this. Stepfather was like 5'8", 5'9", probably about 210. And he's the only person that I ever seen when he get in a fight, hit somebody one time, and then they start foaming at the mouth and have a seizure. The only person I ever seen that can hit that hard that early in my life. And I don't care how big he was. I've seen him knock out dudes that was like 6'8", 6'9", 320 pounds, one lick, gone. So I was scared of him as a kid. But it got to the point where, you know, certain things build up in you and you just move past fear and the rage, right? But just moving forward and all of that, I have a great deal of respect for him because we've been able to mend our relationship as men. And because of who I am and the things that I went through after I left home at 18, was able to accomplish a lot of different things on my own because I'm Aries, I'm self-sufficient, I'm going to get it. And I always knew what I wanted to do to some degree. Holding my own in Baltimore City. Never came home. Never came home. If I did, it was for like a day. But then later in life, after getting sick and some of those other things that I already told some of you guys or whatever, COVID coming around, horrible relationship with my co-parent, all kinds of stuff happened. But at the end of it, it was kind of like lost everything, company folded, partner stole a bunch of money, car blew up on the highway, trying to get some assistance from extended family, I just put it like that. But they giving me like the, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to leave Maryland because my daughter was there. But it came to a point where I ain't had no choice. October 2020, because everything was already shut down pretty much for the year. I lost everything. I got my money stolen from me. I had to come back home. Talking about somebody who was pissed, vexed, seriously vexed. But I put my pride aside, called my stepfather, was like, look, I'm fucked up, man. You know, and my sister and her husband met me and my brother in Virginia so I can come back home. Now, the crazy thing is, A lot of people wanted to see me fall anyway. They hated the fact that I was so self-sufficient. They hated the fact that I was able to leave, the port on my own and be self-sufficient, and not even be successful. I built 2 companies, before I came back. It's bad partnership. It was perfect storm, in and out of hospital, And one of the people that was the most supportive in my whole endeavor, like coming back here, I mean, we had to get our shit together a little bit, but it was my stepfather. You know what I'm saying? We had a conversation and he played me fair. And that was all I needed. I ended up leaving, going to Europe, came back, worked some magic. I got quite a bit of, I've been blessed with some things and put myself in a really good position to get an incredible job that most people would never be able to get with the government, with the clearance and type of work I do and access to some of the things I get access to. But it was 3 years of healing, and then the last 3 years have been building, So that's 2020, so it's 2026. So I'm in a completely different place. I'm super, 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 super good now. And I'm grateful for that. But he had to do his own work too for us to be able to meet at a certain vibration. And this is part of what I was talking about yesterday. Men being able to connect in truth. We ain't gotta be super buddy-buddy, but you gotta be able to respect each other. You know what I'm saying? I've been able to work through some of the shit that me and my father never talked about. That we never talk about. And that's okay. Because I've done the fucking work. And none of that shit is holding me back now, I don't resent him. I don't hate him. I know more about his family than he know. Crazy. So basically what I'm saying is when you choose to do the work within yourself, you find out that it's always just you against you. It ain't you against anybody else. It's just you trying to come into higher vibrations within yourself. But that work though, not cutting cords, but uprooting things that aren't yours that were passed on to you. You see what I'm saying? Once you do that work, now you got new ground. So when you put them seeds down, things will start growing. Because you put seeds down on top of what was here before, it wouldn't have grown. That's like somebody trying to tell you something that's good for you, but where your mind is, you can't absorb it. And I'm going to say one last thing before this message gets too long. One thing that I found for sure with women, because of their those that have sensitive nature or those that are able to operate out of a feminine nature and be soft and sensitive and cry, all of this crap right here comes up a lot easier. Because if I would have wet this ground first, before I started pulling it up, it would have been easier. But I'm a man, and my emotions don't flow like that all the time, I mean, not to say I don't cry. Everybody cry. But if you have the ability to cry, don't be ashamed of that. Don't be ashamed of that. If you can get a good cry in, it's one of the easiest ways to disconnect from things that aren't associated with you. They say issues are in your tissues. So like you sweat or if you cry and things like that, it's one of the easiest ways to cut that cord. And I know that because for a long time I thought something was wrong with me because I wasn't able to cry. It was just all that shit that was buried on top of me. I mean, I still don't cry a lot, but yes, I've even cried on this damn camera. But just wanted to just share that with y'all. Hope this helps, and I'll get with y'all soon. Peace.